All right, good morning, everybody. Give me 1 second. I grabbed the wrong trade plan here. All right, so looking at our trade plan, it looks like it's pretty much going to be the same as yesterday because yet again, we are just continuing that micro pullback kind of inside structure here, still inside of that P-shaped profile. You could even say kind of the original P-shaped profile on Friday. So completely inside of yesterday, hovering around those overlapping POCs. So if we stay above that 7,000, we can look for a upper impulse. If we stay below the 48, we can look for a lower impulse. But everything in between is just a rotation. So keep an eye on today's rotation. If it breaks out of it, then obviously look for yesterday's rotation as well. But yeah, literally the same trade plan we've been using for 3 or 4 days now. I put out a recap video yesterday talking about why we are treating this the way we are, why this trade plan works for this type of day. Same exact thing on NASDAQ, holding above 425, upper impulse, extending the upper tail, below 150, lower impulse, hitting those lower tails, and then everything in between is just a rotation. Now, obviously, this value range is getting quite wide, so that rotation is a pretty large rotation. So you do probably have to take that in like multiple stages. Looking for like the POC, the value low of today, then possibly the overnight low, and then possibly the full rotation. So kind of piece by piece, step by step. Give me 1 second here. Keep an eye on VWAP. VWAP at 76. We're already testing it on NASDAQ right out of the open here. So far, holding on to that VWAP. Good morning, everybody. Wanatachi, Scott, Ordinary, Patriot. Let me pin the trade plan for you guys. There you go. Good morning, Jose, JC, Morris, Igor, Lubomir, Scott, Fernando, Tamer, Larry. Good morning, Ken. Good morning, Greg, Faraj, Brian, AT, Mr. Crab, Ish, Julio, Trevor. Good morning, Banana. Ryan, Ram. Good morning, John. Good morning, Trades, eBay, Future, Roman, Ram, Boat, Denise, and Lulu. Appreciate you guys being here. If you guys are just hanging out, thank you for listening in. Keep an eye on VWAP. We are holding above it on NASDAQ. Haven't touched it so far on ES. Keep an eye on today's value levels. I'm not using today's value for the trade plan, but because you are an inside day, you can look for those levels. So watch that 300. On ES, it would be around like 76. You want a music, Joe, Darius, Tom, Roma? For now, the 30-minute trails are holding right in the middle of that range. You had a beautiful pivot to pivot range here. So orange pivot on the high of the range, blue pivot on the low of the range, and now we're right in the middle on that trail. Same thing on NASDAQ, pivot on the high, pivot on the low, trail being held. This is still that potential lower high area for NASDAQ over the next couple of days. So keep an eye on that for the higher time frame. Bouncing off that weekly trail, giving you a little bit of support like we did on November. Still trying to hold on to VWAP on NQ here. More Lucio, Scooby, liquidated. More Nike. More Chuck. Still holding on to that VWAP here. If you guys watched that recap I put out yesterday, today is no different. Basically everything we covered in that video is still happening. Liquidity is about the same as what we've been seeing. It's around that 30 per tick, which is still kind of low, but it's becoming normal now, unfortunately. Yeah, it's a good comparison. This month it does feel like September, yeah. We see a lot of this price action in September usually. It is February though, so that is very common. February and September are very similar. February and September are like two of the historically worst months to trade. But then you have April coming up, and April is like November. April and November are two of the best months to trade, typically. Still holding on to today's profile, not testing yesterday too much. The value high and value low, I mean. Nasty sell-off here. Keep an eye on VWAP, breaking VWAP pretty aggressively on NASDAQ, but you are testing it on ES, so you're still holding it potentially. Okay, now we're not seeing a reaction on VWAP, starting to hold below pretty aggressively. Keep an eye on yesterday's value low coming up, or I guess POC would probably be coming up, so keep an eye on that around 65. Then the overnight low around 53, then you have the value low at 48. Like I said earlier, you just take it level by level by level. So POC coming up next at 65 if it does continue. Not a ton of value on the bottom of this candle. Do we have any data after 10 o'clock today? No, we do not. So 10 o'clock, or actually we have a bond auction. So 10 o'clock we have housing data, and then 1 p.m. we have a bond auction, so watch out for that. We had unemployment this morning, which is every Thursday, so nothing crazy. It was basically as expected, a little bit higher. Want a Fable? Trade rate acting up. I'm not seeing too many issues on my end. Might be a little slow because the market's moving very quickly right now. Yeah, I don't notice when the orders are lagging that much because I don't put in that many orders. I notice when like the data is messed up. Morning, Sergio. Backtest of EWAP so far being sold. We're trying to protect that 80 level, which is not a great place to be selling a backtest because it shows that they might be losing the value low here. Back down to yesterday's value low. They really need to hold on to that 75. One thing I forgot to talk about during the recap yesterday was how you can use kind of an overlapping profile when stuff like this happens. So if you wanted to grab a profile, a composite of like the entire range, you could do that. So we can see our overlapping POC is around 86. And you can see how strong this POC node is. So the overlapping value low is around 60. The overlapping value high, excuse me, is around 96 to 7,000. Just showing you how much chop and like value we're building up here in the middle. So you have to be very careful trading in the middle. I appreciate you guys all watching that recap too. It's one of our best performing videos recently. And it's funny because the last recap did terribly. I thought you guys didn't really care about the recaps too much, but I think you guys just like watching my volume profile content the most. The last video I was talking about like the FOMC stuff, which I normally don't talk a lot about, so I don't think people care too much about FOMC. Yeah, I appreciate you watching that. I have I've been saving up a bunch of shorts. Let me see how many I have. I think I have like 10 or so saved up. Yeah, probably a little over 10. So I'll probably do a couple more recaps. By the way, keep an eye on that pullback we just talked about. Selling the pullback of VWAP. Staying below 75 goes back to yesterday's POC. Here's the POC right here. And then below that, we go down to the overnight low around 50. But yeah, what I was saying was I'll probably do a few more recaps so I can save up a few more shorts. And then once I have enough saved up, we'll start posting them, probably like 1 or 2 a week. No, Bailey, I dropped out of college. Definitely not a professor. I am a college dropout. I think I had like 10 or so credits left. Probably had like 1 semester left. 1.5. Just was a waste of money for me, honestly. Waste of time, waste of money. Like I always talk about, time in, value out. I was putting in too much time, putting in too much money. I was getting nothing out of it. What did I study? Finance and economics. Keep an eye on 53 to 48 if it continues. Around 1,000 semester in Switzerland. Yeah, no. When I was going, it's probably triple what I was paying, but I was paying like, I'm trying to remember. It was something ridiculous. I think it was like $500 or $1,500 a credit or something like that. It was something insane. No, I really don't care, Joe. I don't care about having the certificates or anything. I actually thought about getting like the CMT and like the other trader certificates, the series ones. Um, but I just don't really care. I enjoy being a retail guy, just kind of doing my own thing. It just goes back to what I always rant about. I have nothing to prove to anybody at this point. I've been doing this shit for too long. So those certificates would literally just be me trying to prove something to somebody else, and I just don't care. Bottom heavy candle here at 63. Keep an eye on the 80 MA, possibly the 24 if it does bounce here. I have no background. I have no professional background whatsoever. I worked in sales for a few years. I worked in retail like everybody else starts in. A lot of contracting work with my dad, and that is my professional career. Got into trading, dropped everything else, and here we are. Yeah, that's what I've heard. I've heard they're just like pretty much scams just to charge you fees every quarter, every month, or every year. Here's that 24 EMA. Keep an eye on that bear flag and the VWAP. I would not call the first one a bear flag because it was just kind of a pullback. It was just a very quick pullback. This one was far enough away that you could call it a bear flag. So keep an eye on that VWAP here. Any regrets? Not really, no. I've had a few. I have the regrets that every other trader has, where I have trades that I could have made 1,000x what I made if I just traded a little bit differently. But you're going to have that damn near on a monthly basis as a trader, so you can't really have regrets on that. I don't talk about my background a lot because it's like the complete opposite of what I tell people to do. I would not recommend doing what I did, like dropping everything, quitting your job, dropping out of college, all that stuff. So because I don't recommend it, I don't really talk about it. I don't want people to look at me and say, "Oh, I can do that. I can drop out of college and quit everything." So right now the bear flag is into the 24 EMA instead of VWAP. Bit more aggressive here. That was the 10 o'clock data as well. Let me see here. Pretty low, 3.91 million over 4.16 existing home sales. Yeah, it's a very important life decision that I'm not going to really push you guys one way or the other, whether college is the right thing or wrong thing. All I've seen recently is it's extremely expensive, right? And it just keeps getting more and more expensive. So I think the amount of people that it's appealing to per year is definitely going down. I think trade schools are getting more popular, and as they should. They're cheaper than college usually. Much cheaper. Putting in a higher low here, a very small higher low. Probably not exactly Carini. They probably just have to shift a little bit. They definitely have to learn how to adapt and use like AI as more of a tool, as a multiplier for their labor. That's what I always talk about with AIs. Like it's not a labor replacement. It's a labor multiplier or enhancement if used correctly, right? Now, yes, it is a replacement for certain jobs. Like if it's a very easy job that AI can just very easily replace. Like graphic design and stuff like that is definitely getting pretty hard because AI is getting so good at that stuff and it does it literally instantly. But I think for most people, it's more of an enhancement than a replacement. The people who are fighting it still, by the way, a lot of buyers coming in here, block trade at 69. The people who are constantly fighting it, they are in danger of being replaced, right? Because they're not evolving with the times. If you have two candidates, one that completely hates AI and won't use it and is fighting it, they think it's the devil, whatever. And then you have another candidate who is very good at using AI, you're probably going to choose the one that's very good at it. Keep an eye on that overnight low coming up at 53 and then 48. Starts to get very dangerous below 48, especially because we've already tested it. They've already shown that the sellers are strong enough to push down. Now, yes, they did show the buyers are protecting it, but will they protect it the second time? Yeah, the big thing with AI is like if you have two people and you're like, hey, I've got this task I want you to do. How long will it take you to do this task? And the person who's really good at using AI, they'll be like, oh, it'll take me an hour. And the person who doesn't use it, oh, it'll take me all day. Which guy are you going to go to? You're going to go to the guy who said it's going to take him an hour, right? You know what I mean? And that's the way the corporations are going to look at it. Even if it is slightly lower quality, because you know the corporations don't give a shit about quality. And that's become abundantly clear. Yeah, it's like looking at like a like an auto assembly line or something like that. Like the people were replaced with machines, but then you need people to work on the machines. It's just a different skill set. Adapting with the world. Oh yeah, for sure, like stock-wise, it might be overblown. There's a bull div here, by the way. Delta going up, price going down. They're really trying to protect this POC level. Stock-wise, it might be overblown with all the capital expenditure going on. This circular funding. We're already starting to see the cracks in that. NVIDIA pulling a lot of the funding. But we're still years behind. Because like I was saying the other day, this is like a 10-year, 12-year, 15-year plan. And they just started exploding in the last couple of years. They're still building more data centers right now than there are that exist. So imagine what it's gonna be like in the next 2 or 3 years. They're really fighting this level. They keep holding on to that node at 63, which is basically the POC node of yesterday. Yeah, exactly. And that's why it's also delayed yet again, because you don't see the return on the CapEx yet. Good morning, Savage. Yeah, Jefferson. It's because the liquidity is really low. So you can move around quite a bit. Our liquidity is like 30 per tick, sometimes lower than that. If it starts getting back to where it'd like to be, around 50 or 60 per tick, it's a lot slower. The free trial for Addis, I think the default one is like 7 days or something like that. But if you sign up down below with the link that I have, if you send me an email letting me know which email you registered with, I can send it to their team. They'll give you a 30-day trial. Is it 14 days? Yeah, so the regular one's 14 days, and the student one that you get through me is 30 days, and I believe it's full access as well. And there's my email if you guys need it. Basically, just register with the link down below, and then let me know what email you registered with. And I'll let their team know. Keep it on VWAP. VWAP at 76. Yeah, Bailey, it's 30 days. So you get a free 30-day trial. Just send me an email. Just put in the subject like Addis trial or something like that. and then just let me know what email you registered with, and you're good to go. A lot of bullish delta down here, pushing into VWAP. Not the greatest bear flag in the VWAP because you are basically trading right on the POC of yesterday, so it's a little bit sloppy. And if you guys are using Apex, if you want to use Addis, you need to use their rhythmic accounts, the Apex rhythmic accounts. You're currently looking at an Apex account on stream right now. So if you have a rhythmic account, you can tie that into Addis. You used to be able to tie Tradebait into it way back when we first started using it. But they took that away when NinjaTrader bought out Tradebait. Well, yeah, anything in trading is going to overcomplicate things if you don't learn it step by step, as I taught in the Becoming an Apex Trader series, failing VWAP, by the way. You have to learn things one at a time. If you're brand new to trading and you try to throw up my layout on Addis, you're going to have no idea what you're looking at. You have to learn these things step by step, piece by piece. If you don't understand candlesticks, you can't understand market structure. If you don't understand market structure, you can't understand how to use indicators and volume profile. If you don't understand volume profile, you definitely cannot use Addis, and you cannot use order flow. Hey, Caliber, that's awesome, man. That's a happy ending. You win the account from the raffle, and you already made some money on it. That's awesome. No, I'm glad you let me know, man. That's awesome. I think you're the first person that's let me know from the raffle that actually turned the raffle account into a real money account. That's sick. You want a rider? You want the 300K one? Yeah, the 300K one is actually not bad for right now because the volatility is a lot higher. So the 50Ks are a little bit they're a little bit dangerous right now because we're moving so quickly. So I think you made a good decision going, well, obviously you see the rewards. You definitely made a good decision on the 300K. Yeah, 50K, you really want to be trading micros pretty much the entire time. Now, back when the volatility was very low, you could slowly push into like that one big contract, maybe like 15 micros, so a little bit higher than one big contract. But not right now. Right now, you're starting very small, maybe 1 or 2 micros, and trying to slowly build that up. Basically the same I talk about in the sizing guide. The 50K sizing guide is still good for this type of market. You might need to pull back a little bit from the sizing guide if it seems like it's moving too fast for you. You want a PJ? You want a Brent? So you're already hitting your conservative target if you took the bear flag into VWAP. This one was pretty much instant, so you would have had to trust that one damn near right away. Didn't really give you a signal. Aggressive target would be somewhere around 61 or lower. Yeah, daily loss limits are very helpful. It stops you from having one bad daily, just wipes out your entire account, which happens to most people. On Nvidia, I haven't seen Nvidia recently. Looks like it's pretty much the same as the market. We're just stuck in a pretty nasty range. You need to get out of this, like, what is that, a month or two? Almost 3 months we've been in a range. So right now, if the range holds, that's a pretty damn strong sell area. They've been selling it for 2-3 months. They need to hold above like 195, 196, and then it looks a lot better. Netflix, look at that. They're doing terrible. They are just plummeting. Wow. 42% from the high. Looks like Google's losing its uptrend. They've been carrying the market for quite a bit as well. That's not a great sign. Daily trail flipping red for the first time since April of last year. Wow. Nearly a year that trail was running up. That's not a great flip. The single stock futures thing? No, I have not. What are you talking about? You mean like futures? How would that work? You mean like futures contracts on like on a stock like Nvidia or something? I mean, they kind of already have that. They have like options contracts. I mean, Netflix just hasn't really put out anything crazy recently. That one movie, The Rip, that just came out wasn't bad. That was a pretty good movie. But they haven't put out like anything insane that's like been a I guess the K-pop Demon Hunters was their last banger. I think that thing is still popping off and it's been out for months now. But back, what, couple of years back, you had like all those shows blowing up. Yeah, the merger talks are still going on. It sounds like Paramount's kind of winning that deal, but I'm not sure. They're going to launch futures trading for the top 50 US stocks. I have not seen that. That's weird. Yeah, I'll take a look at it. I don't really understand why. They already have futures, or sorry, they already have options contracts. You can trade spot. Trading spot is pretty much the same as trading futures. We're just in that environment. We talked about this not too long ago. We're just in a very high risk environment. Look at sports betting, look at gambling. I mean, you name it. Look at trading. Trading's getting popular again. Yeah, prediction markets. You can't find the Discord link. You didn't look very hard. It's the very top link in the description. Yeah, I'll have to look into that. I'm not sure how that's going to work. Still building up a lot of delta here. So much, in fact, you have shifted the POC down. Bottom heavy profile now, possibly trying to extend the lower tail if they can stay below VWAP. It's launching this summer. Gotcha. Yeah, I agree. The prediction market seems like one of those like kind of it seems like a joke, right? Like it seems really stupid. Why would you look at it? But like you said, a lot of those predictions are pretty damn accurate. So being able to do analysis on that would definitely be helpful. That started a long time ago in the crypto days, years ago. I think Deribit was one of the first ones that started that. I forget what they called them. Um, it was like up-down contracts or something like that, where it would basically just say, will Bitcoin be higher than this price at this time? And you would either say yes or no, right? You'd buy the yes or buy the no. It was basically like a binary option almost. And now we have all these binary options basically for these betting markets, prediction markets. Interactive Brokers does that. Still putting in higher lows into VWAP here. This is a great example of why I say when you're doing the bear flag in a VWAP trade, when you target the prior low, it does not mean you're targeting the absolute low because of stuff like this. When it puts in a higher low, you're in danger, right? So you want to be taking your trade off a little early sometimes. Yeah, Nadex, they were, I don't even know. Are they, people thought they were like a scam back in the day. They were like a really scammy, they had like a marketing strategy that was really scammy. I'm not sure if they're still popular. They used to be on like every single trading video. They'd have ads. They just closed finally. Hey, Jay, have a good day, man. Have a good weekend as well. Okay, after 3 attempts, the VWAP is pushing you down here. Lower tail being extended. So now look for the overnight low. That's the next level. And then below that, we have the value low of yesterday at 48. And then the next level after that would be the low of day. So low of day here. And then it gets really bad because then you don't really have anything else. Starting to get pretty bottom heavy on this candle as well, showing a lot of value down here. I think so, Joe. It's either the first one or like the second one. You can see it's starting to get pretty impulsive here now that we lost that node that we were fighting over. They picked a pretty good time to push too because they've got plenty of time before the single prints come in. It depends, Bailey. If you're trying to use Addis, I would use Rhythmic. If you don't want to use Addis, I would go with Trade of 8. If you're getting multiple accounts, I would get one of each. Because when they have data issues, they're not directly connected. So sometimes Trade of 8 will have issues, you can trade on your Rhythmic. If Rhythmic has issues, you trade on your Trade of 8. If you're getting multiple, I'd get at least one of each. If you want to use Addis, get Rhythmic. But everything else, Trade of 8's pretty much the standard. Trade of 8 has been really good over the years about issues. Like, they rarely have issues, but recently they've been having problems, unfortunately. They've had more issues in like the last couple of months than probably like the last couple of years. You'll have to check, Bailey, because they have constant promotions going on. I couldn't tell you. Right now, the activation fee, I'm assuming, is a lot cheaper. But yeah, if you use the code, just keep an eye on, by the way, here's the value low to the tick so far. If you use the code, just keep a hold of those receipts. And at the end of the month, I'll get them from you for the raffle. Is it this coming up Monday? I think it is. I think this Monday is a holiday, so I won't see you guys until Tuesday. I'll be streaming tomorrow, obviously. But next week, Monday is a holiday. Yeah, it's funny you say that, Flory. A lot of people have told me that. I've actually had people send me design ideas for a t-shirt like that. I just don't have any merch right now. We used to sell merch back during COVID as like a joke. We had a couple of funny like hoodies and whatnot. I have thought about like mouse pads, like making a really big, like a mouse mat, not a pad. Like the pads are the smaller ones. A mat is like one that kind of covers like half your desk. I've thought about making one of those with like trading stuff on it, like little tips or whatnot. Like the profile shapes or whatever. I think that'd be pretty cool. It's funny you say that, Ordinary. I used to do the same thing. They actually seem like they're a little bit smoother than regular mouse pads. Better material, most likely. Keep an eye on that prior low from yesterday at 31. Below that, it gets pretty damn weak because that's losing the low here, these lows, and the POC. So really below like 20 is pretty bad. NASDAQ also losing that value low. Here comes that low of day of yesterday. Losing that gets pretty bad. That'd be about 58, 25,000 even. Very bottom heavy candle here. Okay, now we're halfway through that candle. And it looks like we will have single prints going back to 60. This is nearly identical to yesterday. Yesterday, we also had a very large break into the lower tail. It left open a very large single print gap, and then it filled in every single print in the next few 30-minute candles. Yeah, have a good day, Titus. Yeah, I'll be streaming tomorrow, just not Monday. Monday's a holiday. Long weekend. Very strong node building up at 46 here. Hey, Ken, have a good one. Yeah, I don't take very many days off. I pretty much stream every single day as long as it's not a holiday. I take like maybe one vacation a year, maybe two. So vast majority, probably like 90%, 95% of the trading days I am streaming. Ten minutes left on this candle. Like I said, nearly identical to yesterday. Creating single prints the same way we did yesterday. I think it was the same session as well. No, it was the B session yesterday. The B session pushed down, C session opened, and then it filled them in. Yeah, you have to pay for futures data on TradingView, so that's what if that's what you're talking about, you might be delayed. It's very cheap on TradingView. I think it's like $4 a month. Yeah, you're seeing a delta problem here because you have a lot of limit sellers. That's why you had so much bullish delta here. You have a ton of passive sellers pushing you down. start cleaning these levels up. They did a pretty good job on the way down. That one was damn near to the tick. This one on the pullback was damn near to the tick. This one on the high was also damn near to the tick, so very good levels. We have a couple of levels coming up here because the newer level this bounced off this level damn near to the tick on the top of it. So you can take the newer level, which is the higher one here. I'll change the color so we can tell the difference. And then the older level is the one right below it. Going to be nearly the same size single print zone that we had yesterday. I think it's a little bit bigger. And this is the problem that we talked about with losing those value lows. It's very dangerous. You have that low of day being taken out yesterday. You have the low of day on Monday coming up. And then you have that prior value from Monday as well. Trying to hold that support on the low of day of yesterday on ES. 3 minutes. And you will have a lot of single prints going back to VWAP. Like I said, nearly identical to yesterday. Yesterday, we filled them in immediately. Will it do the same thing today? We'll see. Okay, so there is that massive single print zone going back to 59, which is nearly VWAP. By the time it got back there, it would probably be VWAP. Ignoring the low of day here, not seeing a lot of buy pressure off that level. What do I think about trading CPI? It's the same as trading like earnings on a stock. You're basically just gambling. You're just betting on one way or the other, right? There's no real prediction. It's the same thing as like trading FOMC or really any news. It's more of a gamble, not a trade. Hey, Scott, have a good day, man. We'll see you tomorrow. Keep an eye on those 5-minute highs. If they start getting broken by the buy pressure, if they get taken out, look for those single prints, right? Single prints will start getting filled in. Right now, obviously, it's extremely aggressive to the downside. Single prints by themselves are not an entry. They do not tell you when to enter. They just give you a very obvious target. I mean, this would be a psychotic trade, but if you were still holding that bear flag in a VWAP, you really have not been trailed out. Now, who's going to hold that for 50 points? Most likely nobody. But if you're like absolutely sticking to your runner until you're trailed out, you really have not been trailed out. The ADMA is still holding, the 5-minute highs are still holding. There's no real sign of buy pressure. Being a seller on VWAP honestly, like the last year, has been very profitable. Obviously, when it's a bear flag in a VWAP, not like just coming straight down a VWAP. They're getting so much delta down here, but this is the problem when you have those limit sellers that are pushing you down. You get skewed because the delta's coming in very bullishly, but who's on the other side of that? Those are all the limit sellers that just keep pushing it down continuously. And this is almost exactly what we talked about in the recap yesterday. So if you haven't seen that video, be sure to watch that after the stream. I talked about the lower tails being threatened when you have these P shapes back to back to back. We took out this tail, that's a D shape, so these aren't all P shapes, but I'm just showing the tails. This tail here is being taken out, and then we have this large tail here. So I could see this being taken out pretty easily. Back to 55. I don't know if you're going to get the whole tail. That's a pretty strong move. But I could see this little value gap right here being taken out. So keep an eye on that. Yeah, not a great sign when you see these like P shapes back to back. It's okay if it turns into a trend, like you have a very obvious trend profile with a lot of nodes. But if you have back-to-back P shapes and then you do something like this, putting in those lower highs, possibly roll over top, not a good sign. What I wrote in our trade plan this morning was yesterday was looking a little bottom heavy. When it starts to do that, you start to pressure that value low. It's typically telling you, hey, we might want to extend that lower tail. And that's exactly what you're doing today. That bottom heavy pressure from yesterday is finally getting what they want. They probably would have done this yesterday, but it obviously it closed. It didn't have any more time. Okay, starting to break away from that pattern of yesterday. Yesterday, we put in the single prints, immediately established a very strong node on the bottom, right at the end of those single prints. Then you started bouncing off that node to fill in the single prints. So we did that just now. We had the node establish right at that same place we did yesterday, right below the single prints. But here's the breakaway. The pattern is no longer the same. They're pushing away from those single prints. They're not pushing off of that node back into them. This is a much stronger trend than yesterday. Yeah, unfortunately, if they don't fill in the single prints today, that's going to give them a very easy target for the CPI for tomorrow. And CPI, I say unfortunately, because CPI normally creates its own single prints. So CPI is probably going to, what it could do is it could shoot up and fill in these single prints, which will then create single prints on CPI. We'll have to go back down anyway. So it's going to be a mess. If we leave the single prints open today for the CPI tomorrow, it's going to be a mess. And it's also going to be a Friday going into a holiday weekend, so definitely going to be a mess. About halfway through this candle, and we might have more single prints going back to 23. And like I said, it'd be a psychotic trade, but the bear flag and the VWAP is kind of still in effect here. You do not have any obvious breaks trailing out anybody who has been selling since like 40. You could even say since like 70. Gold is going crazy. I do see that. Gold is dropping pretty hard. Not sure why. This is the exact problem that we talked about on Monday or Tuesday, whenever it was, with these sweeps right here, potentially putting in a rollover top. P-shape, sweep, sweep, that is not a good sign. It almost always looks like this, where you start nuking that value. It's a look above and fail, right? The sellers start closing their positions, pushes price up, does it again, but the buyers do not take over. That's why P-shapes are not known as very aggressively bullish days, because they're mostly sellers closing, not the aggressive buyers taking over. You need the aggressive buyers to extend these upper tails. Failed to do so, lower high. And if you think it's hindsight, I've literally been talking about this every single day since Monday. Talked about it yesterday in the recap. 5-minute high is still being protected here. Yeah, I don't see the headline that's causing the gold nuke, but it is hurting the market because it's making the dollar go up. Do you guys know what the headline is for the gold nuke? I still don't see anything. And it doesn't have to be headline related, but that's a pretty big move, so typically they are. Yeah, I'm not sure which one. I don't know which one's the cause, which one's the effect. I don't know if the dollar pumping is causing gold to go down or gold going down is causing the dollar to go up. It's hard to say. On the chart, it looks like gold started going down first. So it looks like gold is leading that. Friday's single prints? Where are those? Didn't we fill in all the recent ones? Yeah, we don't have any single prints. We filled in the ones from Monday, and that was it. And now we have a shit ton from today. That's really old news, Ranger. I saw that on the when I was doing the trade plan. Something happened in the last 20 minutes. 15, 20 minutes. Well, I'm honestly glad this is happening because you guys get to see the full extent of this pattern. Keep an eye on 86, and then you have 55. Oh, and this is finishing our trade plan, so I do need to update these levels. Give me 1 second. The 807 level's not hit yet, but I will go ahead and extend these levels as well. Next level on NASDAQ is our trade plan at 807, then 586. Yeah, but guys, so the problem with headlines, guys, is if the market is moving very aggressively in the last like 10 or 20 minutes, you can't really tie that to a headline that came out hours ago. Yes, that can be partially like why it's being pushed that way, but normally if something is very impulsive at 10 o'clock, then there's probably a headline around 10 o'clock that's causing that. The Russia moving back to the dollar headline, that's old news. That happened in the Asian hours, London hours. It was being reposted by US journalist, whatever, in the US hours around like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. I do not think that's what's causing the sell off that started at 11 o'clock. Definitely, it's definitely partially the reason. Here's a great Momo example. Let me show you this. By the way, they're trying to repair this candle going back to 24. So I always talk about the Momo flattening out around like negative 15 or positive 15 if the trend is very stable. That is exactly what I mean right there. You see how that trend line is flattening out at negative 15? Same thing here. You have that fish hook pattern where it like hooks and then it flattens out there. It's because that trend is very stable. So when they start pushing against the trail here, it's going to start losing that flatten out. It's going to push up. You were damn near doing it on the 5-minute, which is very hard to do. This was a bearish pinch as well, so 30-minute bearish pinch to the downside. Definitely helping us go down there. They're trying to repair some of these single prints before they form. It's going to form in 5 minutes. This all started from one little measly bear flag in a VWAP. Failed VWAP to the exact tick, damn near 3 times. When you see a trend like this, guys, where it's just holding below the ADMA the entire time and protecting every single 5-minute high, you just can't be a buyer, right? You're just going to get destroyed. We talked about this, I think, yesterday when I was talking about the 5-minute highs and lows. When one side is being aggressively protected, if you're buying here, you're telling yourself that you're taking the perfect trade and that this time it's going to be different. But the market is not telling you that, right? It's telling you the entire way down it was not different. Every single 5-minute candle was not different. Every single one protected the high and lost the low. $55 is the next level to watch. Gonna have another zone of single prints going back to 24. This will be the largest zone of single prints we have seen in a very long time. This is extremely common when those tails are left untested. This is essentially one single print zone. You just have that gap in between because a new session opened. Here's our trade plan being completed on NASDAQ down to 807. Now, at this point, I definitely recommend, if you have not seen that recap I put out yesterday, definitely watch it after the stream today, because you're seeing the result of that. If you guys struggled to trade today, like I said, highly recommend watching that. It will help you understand this pattern. This pattern is fairly common. It's not extremely common, like where you see it like every single week. But you do see it probably monthly. Very common in February, very common in September. That is a ridiculous amount of single prints. Going back up 100 points, that's 50 single prints. Look at these 5-minute highs. Protected, lost the low. Protected, lost the low. Rinse and repeat every single time. Protected, lost the low. If I turned on my colors here, there you go. So purple means that you're protecting the high, losing the low. That's why these are purple here as well. All right, guys, we are coming to that time. We are currently at 80 likes. If you guys get that to 100, we'll do another Apex account giveaway. If you guys are heading out before the giveaway, I'll see you guys tomorrow. I will be streaming tomorrow. If you guys are in Discord, I will be streaming there for the rest of the day, as always. If you guys are heading out, just keep an eye on the 5-minute highs, the 5-minute lows. The highs are being protected. Lows are being taken out every single candle. When we start to break that, you look for the single prints, right? If they can start holding above these 5-minute highs, putting in higher lows, fill in the single prints. Make sure you can stay above that 24 and 80 MA. Liquidity is basically non-existent, which is very strange because there is a lot of liquidity here. You can tell there is because there's a lot of passive sellers pushing the market down, but tick by tick liquidity is still pretty bad. We're almost at 100. If you guys can hit that like button if you have not already, I'll go ahead and get that giveaway ready. Keep an eye on these 5-minute highs. They're going to start getting tested here. We'll see if they can hold above it. You lost your funded account today? That's probably the story for a lot of people. Being on the wrong side of a trend like this is painful. This is the strongest trend we've seen in a while. All right, thank you guys. We have gotten over 100. Let me go ahead and get that giveaway ready. All right, same as always, pick one number between 1 and 50. Please press that live button so you do not have a delay on the stream. Make sure you're up to date with the stream. Pick one number between 1 and 50. I will double check your chat history. If you pick multiple numbers, you will be banned. This is going to be for a promo code for Apex. It will give you any account size for free for 1 month. Make sure to have your email ready. I will need to verify your email before I send the code. Hey, JC, let me see what you said here. You said you were in profit, but you did not exit when it hit VWAP. Failed to secure the profit, ending up in a loss. So it sounds like you were buying before the bear flag and the VWAP, and then you didn't let go of it when it turned into a very sell-heavy market. Yeah, that goes back to one of my key rules that maybe you might want to adopt in your trading. You probably already do this for the most part. But if your trade is up a certain amount, like that certain amount is it's dependent on you, so I can't tell you exactly. But when the trade is up a certain amount, you should never be taking a max loss on that trade. Once you feel comfortable with that profit, you think it's a decent amount, you should be moving your stop loss to break even or potentially even in profit. You'd never want to allow winning trades to turn into big losers. So once you think it's a decent enough place that you could be taking profit, that's probably a decent enough place to be moving your stop loss up as well. It also goes for partial take profits. Like when you've already told yourself, this is a decent place for me to take some money off the table, that is simultaneously a decent place for you to be moving your stop loss. You should never be taking profit on like half your trade, but then your stop loss is staying where it is. That usually ends up being a bad trade. But yeah, that's something that I do that helps me a lot. Might help you guys. All right, I'll give you guys one more minute. Pick a number between 1 and 50. Only pick one number. Don't worry about ties. We'll do a tiebreaker. Keep an eye on these levels here. Breaking the 5-minute highs for the first time during the entire downtrend. First time breaking the 24 EMA. Can it put in a higher low here? If it comes back down, it must protect either the 82 node or the 75 node. And that will be a higher low. The target is extremely obvious. It's just the single prints in VWAP. All right, press that live button once again. Make sure you guys are up to date. I'm going to go ahead and roll it. The last number that I see for the first roll is Red Dawn. The number is 34. Let me know if you got 34. I will double check your chat history. I see some 33s, 36. We have 3 different 36s. A bunch of 33s. I don't see a 34. Let me know if you picked it. I'll double check. Okay, last chance. I'll give you 10 more seconds. Let me know if you put 34. I'll double check. If not, I'm going to roll again. Okay, I don't see anybody. I'm going to roll again. 24 this time. Let me know if you got 24. I see a 25. I do see a 24. Adrian, are you here, Adrian? And then let me know if there's anybody else. I see you, Adrian. I think you're the only one, but I'll double check. I don't see anybody else. I'll give you 10 more seconds. If you put 24, let me know. I see you, Adrian. You're good. Adrian, let me get my email for you. I think you're the only one. All right, last chance. Anybody else? I don't think so. All right, Adrian, it's just you. Here you go. Congrats, man. If you guys are heading out, I will be streaming tomorrow. We'll do another giveaway tomorrow if we hit 100 likes. Send me an email, Adrian. Just let me know what your YouTube name is, and I'll send you a random number to type in chat. Keep an eye on the 24 EMA here, guys. You are holding that 8 EMA bullishly now. 5-minute highs finally being taken out. You filled in about half of the single prints on the lower portion. Let me know when you sent the email, Adrian. I'll take a look. I see you, Adrian. I'm going to send you a random number here. Just type that number in chat and you are good to go. Gotcha, Adrian. I see you. All right, so the next thing you'll see is the promo code. So you can sign up for any account, just put that code in, and then be sure to go back to the brew code before it renews because it will charge you full price on the renewal. But all right, guys, I'm going to head out. Like I said, if you haven't already, check out that recap video I put out yesterday if you guys struggled today, especially because I talk about this pattern in a lot of detail with the P-shape profiles, the rollover top on the P-shape, going for the lower tails, etc., etc. Keep an eye on this pullback into VWAP. It does line up with filling in the single prints. But all right, guys, I'll see you in Discord. If you aren't in Discord, I will be streaming tomorrow, same time as always. Peace, everybody.